Well, I'm super bullish on Veve, but I'm not recommending that you go for many of the drops. Does that make sense? So last night, as we know, if your account was not KYC'd, in other words, you did not prove who you were via your license or passport and other documentation, they delisted you from the market. So lots of the collectibles, the number of listings went down because they removed those accounts. Now, maybe they were bots or maybe there were people that just didn't have enough time to KYC. Either way, a bunch of the listings went away. And as a collector, you're excited by that because perhaps some of the mints or quantity disappeared. And so maybe your collectible will be more valuable in the long term. And certainly some of the floors moved up in the short term. But so for me, that just shows the continued progress of Veve. They're doing various different things to fight bots, various different things to control the market to make sure that there are nefarious people are being blocked out of the marketplace. All of these are good things as the product continues to mature. But let's talk a little bit about the situation that we're seeing with the drops. So if you look really now at the last couple months, and I did some of the numbers, if you go for the drops, a lot of times right afterwards, we'll see people sell right away, and the NFT will actually drop under retail. Now, I'm not going to get into the psychology of why people do that, this or that. And I think people understand a lot of times maybe they're going for a blind box and they really want the secret rare. They don't get it, so then they just sell it to get some of their gems back. But I think it speaks to kind of two things, and that's gem management and then kind of understanding kind of the sell points and really having a plan. And that's the biggest part of collecting in my mind is you want to have a plan. So there's kind of one plan people could go with, and that's I'm going to collect what I want. I'm never going to sell it. And maybe, if it's $1 million, I'd sell it. But for the most part, I'm going to collect everything. And I don't care. I'll buy the drop. I'll pay them. And if that's your plan, no problem. So if you're like, I want Boba Fett for 80, if I get a comment, it's fine. I'll be happy with that. I'm ready to go. And if you're in that boat, and to a certain degree, I was in that boat because I did go for the drop knowing a lot of the math behind it. And I really like Boba Fett. So I was okay with that. But if you're looking to make money, if you're looking to flip to try to get some gems, if you don't have many gems, maybe you want to have a different type of plan. So I'll talk more about that. So let's talk about some of the numbers and then we'll get into it. So collectibles, other than Silver Surfer, I love Silver Surfer, for the most part, a lot of the blind boxes, the commons, etc., have been falling under retail. So if you look at Boba Fett, there was a 20% chance to get the ultra rare. And if you got the common or the uncommon, they were selling for 40 gems. So 50% less than retail. You would have lost 50% of your gems at that point. And that's just not fun at all. So I think most people had talked about that as being a possibility. So you have to know that going in, thinking, oh, maybe there's only a 20% chance. I mean, if you just want a straight gamble, those aren't the best odds. And you're probably going to lose gems. So that's why, at least right now, August 2022, I'm saying maybe you should not go for some of these drops. Let's look at the comics. So you're like, hey, I'm going to buy a comic for $7 and, I'll get a chance for a secret rare or an ultra rare. Really, those are the ones that are going over retail. The common, uncommons, and even sometimes the rares now are falling under retail. So if you put your $7 in, there's a chance that you'll have to wait a long time for that comic to come back and for you to be able to double your money. And that's really the name of the game, at least in Veve, that I look at, is I'm looking from the investment perspective, from a gem management perspective. I want to double my gems. Obviously, I want to triple and quadruple and quintuple, but at a minimum, I want to try to double. So that's the try to calculations that I'm making. Obviously, I'm not always successful, but I'm going to talk more about this in a second. So let's go into the math of the comic. So for a 30K drop, if you are betting on it, trying to get a secret rare or an ultra rare, it's 5.5%. That's pretty low. For a 20K drop, it's a little bit better, but it's 7.5% to get a secret rare or ultra rare. 7.5% is a very small percent in my mind. I don't know if I want to gamble on that. So what do you do here? What's the thought process? Well, what I tell people and what I think about all the time is don't think about what you're buying it at. Think about what you're going to sell it at. And how do we know that? We have to look at comparables. So in the comic book space, and really, if it's a tier D comic in my mind, and I use VV rank, so before the drop, I always put the comics up there. So if it's a tier C or D comic, I don't know, other than maybe you love it or you're trying to complete a run, I'm not sure if you're really, trying to make gems, those are the comics to go for, at least in the current situation. Maybe things will change with MCP, but that's the way I look at it. So you're looking at, the tier S, A, or B tier comics. And as we know, even those sometimes, a lot of times, basically every time are going under retail at this point for the common and uncommons at least. But anyways, let me get back to it. So you look at other ones that are like it. So for example, the ones I like to talk about a lot would be NYX3, Vengeance 1. Those are young heroes that possibly could just be Young Avengers 1 would be another one that could be introduced. Some of them have been briefly introduced into the MCU, but might have a lot more upside. So for those specific ones, they're coming in, they're selling for, their retail $7 and their commons are selling for $3 or less. Definitely under $4 right out of the gate. That's the buying opportunity. But like I said, you want to think about what can they sell for. So if you look at some of the others, you have to wait 60 to 90 days, but it's creeping up. The delistings have happened, and it's very possible, I think after 90 days or longer, those could go from $3 to $6, doubling your gems. And that's what we're looking for. So there's two pieces here that you want to think about. What is the price point that I can sell it at? And how long do I have to wait? And that speaks to the gem management. So in other words, if your budget is 14 gems a week, I'm going to buy 2 comics. That's great, and then you look at how many that's going to be over a month. That's kind of your budget. And if you're buying those comics and you're even buying them, for far less, you're buying them for, $3 or $2 even, that you're going to have to wait 60, 90 days for that particular comic to double in price. So you're out those gems. So that creates the window. And now you need to budget properly. So if you only have 14 gems, 20 gems, that when you spend them all on comics, you're going to have to wait or put more fiat in. And a lot of times we don't have money to put fiat in. So that's type of the budgeting that you want to think about. That's what I think about a lot is, okay, when am I going to be able to realize some of these gains if it works the way I want? And a lot of times, sometimes it does. And of course, sometimes it doesn't. So you've got to think about all these types of things. The other thing that happens is, since this is a collecting app and I'm a collector, you don't want to sell something. And there also creates a deficit of gems. So that can be a huge problem. And so I think about that. So for example, Silver Surfer. I really, really want to keep one. I love Silver Surfer. So if I, spend 100 gems, it's around 100 gems right now, I can't get that back because I'm never planning on selling that. So as people know, I have the 41 and 42. I invested in those 2 mints, the 2 highest mints of Silver Surfer. And really, it's great for me. I was lucky to be able to have both because I can sell one, keep the other, and try to get the gems back to pay for the other. If I can get the 42, for example, is the one I'd sell. If I can get that one to double in price, maybe I can make some of the gems back. So that is something you definitely want to consider, and that's why you do see people talk about stacking or buying 2, because if it doubles, then they get their money back for both of them, and they get to keep one. And that's when you're really seeing a lot of the big gains, because you're getting your gems back to reinvest. You have the asset. You have, the collectible or comic. It's growing in value. You have gems to go and, buy other things, and that's really where you're seeing some of the people have huge gains. And that's really where I'm at. I'm trying to double up and sell some of these things and keep collectibles and comics, grow my collection, and that's really my game plan. Anyways, if you have any questions, definitely hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, or in the comments below. I really appreciate all you guys. I'll talk to y'all soon.